Okay, so what I'm saying is, just to recap, the way that I would see when we were doing like IEP and 504 meetings, and having sat in on so many of them, when we do the thing where we say that the goal, the child will do such and such 70% of the times, or 4 out of 5 times, or whatever, I think it's ridiculous, asinine, ineffective, a waste of time. It should be reframed. We should definitely be looking at if the goal is done. But here's why I think it's ridiculous. And tell me if I'm off base. But it just seems so. It seems so archaic, and it seems like we got in this pattern and we never change it. I hope I'm wrong, but you probably know where I'm going with this. But to think about a teacher, let's think about a teacher who teaches fourth grade, has 30 kids. Now let's think about a teacher who teaches ninth grade, has 150 kids that they see every week coming through their class. Okay. Now imagine how many documents, IEPs, 504s, how many documents that teacher gets. So let's take the fourth grader. They have 30 kids. Maybe they get, let's say they have five. And let's take the teacher with 150 kids. Let's say that they have 20. Are those two somewhat realistic?
I don't know any classes with 20, but yes, yeah.
You what?
25, 30-ish.
No, no, no. I'm saying the high school teacher that has 150 kids a week, they might have 20 kids
Oh,
with.
IEPs?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If they
Or
have
504s, yeah.
150 kids, they might have 20 IEPs. If they have
Hmm.
30 kids, they might have five IEPs, right?
It's a little bit higher lately, but yeah.
So we're erring on the side of caution. Now,
Hmm.
how is that teacher going to read all of that? First of all, go through their pre beginning of the year training. You got to be here too. So, for those of you who don't know what teachers do, most of your teachers are there before school starts, a couple weeks before the school year. And they're going through trainings and this and that and all these meetings, 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 meetings. Then they're told these are the changes in the district this year in the school, and this is these are your goals and whatever. They might have new curriculum to deliver and so on and so forth. They might have new teachers because there's so much teacher turnover, all the things. Then they're getting their classroom ready. They're getting their curriculum ready for the year. They're designing their room, their classroom. They're oftentimes spending their, sorry, I'm ranting. They're oftentimes spending their own money setting up things in their classroom, buying things for their classroom for their kids. And then they have all of their, finally, if they even come on time, they get their documents. Now, these are dense documents that take time to really sift through. And then school starts and they have barely met the kids. Maybe they met them before the school year started, depending on the age and stuff. But the school year starts and they don't know these kids or who this person on this IEP is yet. And meanwhile, you got 30 kids in front of you and you're starting your day, or 150 coming through and you have your 28. And then, so to get to know them and then to remember, like, this thing I'm supposed to be noticing and doing 80% of the time or whatever and stuff like that. I just think it doesn't help the teacher to help the kid. So anyhow, that's always bugged me. Am I off base here, or and just ranting, or is there validity in this? And what are your thoughts?
You're kind of illuminating the friction between theory and practice, or between law and actual classrooms. And you're totally right. So the reason IEP goals in particular have that like metric of 4 out of 5 times, 80% of the time, is because that's a state measurement for tracking success. So the state or the federal government kind of keeps track of how many IEP goals are met. And if they're not making progress, then the IEP or 504 team is supposed to re-meet and kind of adjust and things like that. So that said, does it help me as a teacher to keep in mind 4 out of 5 times is the goal? No, no, not at all. And so there's a little bit of this gray space, sort of interpretive space of like, okay, I know the kid's working on participation, let's say, or turning in homework. That's really all you need to know as a teacher. And then just kind of unlock your brain to the specificity and say, how can I maximize this for the kid? And, if it is 80%, great. If it's 90%, awesome. If it's 60 down, like up from 20, wonderful. So it's more if you can kind of unlock yourself from the specifics and just say, look, now I know the main areas. I can support the kid and I'm going to propel their growth as much as possible. Let the case manager or the special ed teacher kind of come in and take the data just or talk to you about what you're observing just to satisfy that like paperwork requirement. But you can sort of disengage from the paperwork and just do right by the kid. And I think that's helpful because I agree, Seth. Sometimes I would inherit goals when I was teaching middle school. So they'd come up from elementary and they'd either be wholly inapplicable because like inapplicable is not a word,
Yep.
not applicable because it was such a different context, or the kid had grown out of whatever was going on. And so it just wasn't useful anymore. So, and then at that point, you just either change the goals or you just say, like, dude, you got it. Great. We're moving on. And there's always space for improvement. We're humans. So I would say, yeah, I agree with you that that's tricky. And then you also spoke to another challenge. Can I speak to that? Do we have time?
Please. Yeah, and we
Okay.
do have another question too, and we'll get to that in a minute.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
Karen, I see your question there.
Awesome. So the other component is, you know, these 504s and IEPs are developed sometimes without teacher feedback or without teachers being able to say, yes, that is an accommodation I can give. And so then you've got some friction between, oh, this document, this federally mandated document is making me do my job a certain way, which can position some teachers to have like a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, a little bit of like a push pull situation. And then even the most well-intended teachers that are like, sure, whatever works for the kid. I can't memorize 20 accommodations per kid times, if it was a co-teach class, it's almost half of the class. So we're talking 15, 18 kids with accommodations times 5 to 20 accommodations. Like, I'm not even gonna try that math. It's too much. So I would say a couple of things kind of to speak to that challenge. First thing is, as a teacher, just try as hard as you can. And as a parent, try as hard as you can to encourage your brain to have detective perspective. And that just means you're watching for deficits and you're teaching the skills that would take them up. So this kid's backpack is a total disaster. Maybe he needs some organization skills. And rather than shunning them, yelling at them, reminding them 100 times, teach them how, help them develop their own skills. And that's a way to provide accommodations that are live, they're based on needs, they're what the kid needs right then. And then secondarily is to really enable your kid and empower them to know their accommodations. Maybe have a cheat sheet. Like I have a couple coaching clients that just have it on their phone in like a Google Keep. And they can look back. And then another idea is to remind the teachers, like at the beginning of the year, with kind of like a love letter, which actually, Seth, this Thursday, if people want to join, I'm having a webinar online and we're going to like co-write letters of introduction to the school. So if people are interested, I can post the info here.
Yeah, we'll pop that in the group. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just a chance to kind of endear the teachers to your kid because ultimately that's what we want, right? We want them to see them as a whole amazing human that has like a few holes in their skill set. And it's a teacher's opportunity to help teach them up. And sometimes those love letters, like letters of introduction, with a little bit of chocolate or something nice can really do wonders to set the stage.
All right. Let me